something that's near and dear to my heart is this mentality of victimization. That there are good people out there doing protective work, and that there are bad people out there, evil people out there, causing harm. And now, in the third dimension, that is a very true story. And why this is a story near and dear to my heart is, as I've discussed in the previous videos, I'm stemming all of my teachings from the book that I wrote called Follies of an Awakening Fool. And in that story, in that memoir, a large portion of it was from that very, very true sort of paradigm of victimization, good and bad. Power is a bad thing. The powerless are poor. That people are, killing, and that's an evil thing. But since I wrote that book, I've just been on a long, long journey of discovery, and I'm not the very first one. So to say I'm a pioneer would be false, but compared to the average plane, the average mentality, and an average person like I have been, to go through this journey and to discover other things, I guess that puts me into that pioneer category. And in that discovery, I didn't use any theory, I didn't use any teachings, I didn't use any scriptures or texts or scholars, anything that anybody has ever really written. A couple books here and there, a couple things that I'd learned about Buddhism and whatnot, but mostly it's all been a very self-guided tour. And then since writing the book, I've also had the aid of my wife, who's on the exact same journey. So we have each other to bounce this off of all the time. So that is a benefit that we have. And so I know what I'm talking about, as much as I know that as you are listening to this, that you know that you're hearing words that I'm saying. You may not understand everything that I'm talking about, but you know that I'm communicating, rather two-dimensionally to my computer here, and you're receiving that information. We know that is a true enough fact. Well, the things that we can discover beyond this illusion of the third dimension and of the fourth dimension, that astral and shamanic realm that I've talked about previously, is once we get outside of there, it's not esoteric. But it's not esoteric because you have to experience it for that to not be an esoteric experience. And so for me, I live there, and it's as true as this conversation, this dialogue. And so from where you are in this kind of mental plane, there's this kind of illusion of good and bad. And again, those things do play upon us. They act upon us, and they do teach us. And that is actually the point, is they are teaching us at all times. And so what we have to do, if we're going to break through these things, is to start to surrender the idea, and it is an idea, that's all it is, that there is good and that there's bad, and that we've been hurt and that we've been wronged, and that there's bad things happening in the world, and that we need to be here to stop those and to protect those people who are suffering. Or, maybe we're on the side of what's everybody whining about, and I've been on that side too. So I've been on both sides. I've been the victim of many, many things, from very early years. If I want to go into a victim mentality from that perspective of Follies of an Awakening Fool, that's where I had written that from. There's life beyond that, and that is kind of the goal of any teaching that is out there in a spiritual belief, or even sometimes in a critical thinking sense, sometimes, because critical thinking also offers the illusion of bad and good, as does Christianity, as does a lot of religion. And so those things have a ceiling, and you have to really, really know that there's more than those teachings. There's more than you've been taught. And you knew this when you came into the world. You knew this. You were very, very connected to it. You know, from the perspective of the adults and older children and whatnot around you, they don't necessarily know that you come in with all this wisdom from this divine source, but you are. And then you get conditioned into this world to be taught things that are not actually true about how to be a full light. And that's what Allison and I are here to do through our shamanic work, through our light being activation work, through our enlightened energy, I guess. These things are designed to take that old world and bring it into a new world. And in this new world, we have to know that all we've been doing for the last few thousands of years is really practicing with what we call dark energy. You know, it's not really dark energy, but we're the shadow aspect of energy. You know, and we can embody that in a human form. We can embody the shadow and light at the same time, and it is all light. But we can embody these really radical opposites, and that's what we've been doing, is just experimenting with radical opposites. And the process of that is actually, it's been a learning game. It's like playing a board game, and where you're kind of sitting above the game, right? And you're looking down and you're moving your pieces around and deciding their kind of fate with each step. You know, maybe you roll the dice, maybe you pick a card, whatever the game is. Each thing is aiding kind of this extra step in the journey. And well, we're doing that from a higher perspective of ourselves, a more enlightened perspective of ourselves. And we're doing that through this body to pick and choose what we want to learn. The thing is that in this form, we're given this mind, and we're given the ability to think our way out of that box. And we got to think our way out of that box. But it's not from the mental plane. It's from really getting into those teachings. You know, they're short-sighted in the way that they're taught, but they're true in the fact that this heart mastery, you know, whether you believe in the Christ version or the Krishna version or the Buddha version or whichever version takes you into the heart space. If you believe in that, that is the portal to go through. And to get there, you have to start finding compassion for everything, for everyone. And if we're not doing that, if we're not capable of saying that this person here, this presidential candidate on the Republican side is as beautiful as I am, if we can't do that, we're still swimming in an oily pool, and we're helping that oil spread. We are the toxicity that is being spread. And the ego doesn't want us to believe that. The ego, the mind, the self-identity want us to believe that there is this other thing. It doesn't want itself to be shut down, the ego, okay? And put on the back burner. And it is a game. It is designed this way. There's nothing bad about it. So we have this level of mastery we are capable of achieving without having to die first. And it is going through the heart space to find deep, deep compassion. But it's a reciprocal thing. So self-love is actually the biggest issue that we all have. And so to find self-love, we need to find that we're just as perfect as anything out there, anyone out there. We also have to find that those are as perfect as we are. It's equal. It has to be both at the same time. And when we start to do this, we start to collapse that pressure. We start to move away the pain and to eliminate that energy, that kind of veil around us. And maybe we won't hit this uber enlightened phase, or maybe we will and go way transcendental. That doesn't have to be the goal. But even if it is the goal, this is the way, the only way. There is no other way. And this is the absolute. Although there are many, many various forms of truth, and we're playing them all out. Everything we see in the world is truth. But the way out of the world as we see it is to go through this heart space, and that is the way. And when we do this, when we do this work inside, then we stop worrying about what other people are doing, but we really have to practice it. It becomes a long practice. I've been doing this for many years. It doesn't happen overnight. There's still residuals that I deal with every day, you know, and I know that as long as I'm still in this body, until our presence actually evolves into something new, I will always have something to work on, because there's so much in the ether. There's so much that I've experienced. It took a lifetime to get to here, and it takes a long time to get out of it. And so it's like a never-ending journey, and that journey is the journey that is the beauty, that is the Holy Grail quest. And we don't have to go on a big world-traveling excursion and renounce everything that we own to do this. But if that is the path that we've chosen before we came into our body as it is, then that's what we're going to do, and that's just something we have to accept. But we can also accept that maybe we have children or all these other things that, you know, that are kind of responsibilities in some ways, and we can even take them along on our journey. You know, the imagination is boundless once you get the mind out of the way, see? And the mind is what is stopping the whole process from going forward. And this is the work that Allison and I do. We help get through this mental plane. We help push up. And the thing about that is, most of the time when we do that work, people get really, really aggravated. They don't want to talk to us for a while. and that's part of the process. Every guru, every shaman that's ever helped somebody broke through something has had to face this with most of the people that they break through the mental plane with. Because once you start to break through the mental plane, wow, I'm going to tell you, it's something brand new, and your mental plane can't even know what that is, because the mental plane is a box. And there's all these philosophies, but they're philosophies, because once you get out here, you're not philosophizing anymore. You know, let me tell you, you're talking from truth. And that truth is the same across the board for anybody who's had a mystical experience, more than one, enough to keep them out here. Okay, and you can be in a body. You don't have to die, but you just have to have literal deaths. And these are so important to getting rid of that victim mentality. That victim mentality is so low. If you think of a totem pole, it's down here. There is nothing enlightened, or even halfway to enlightenment, about being victimized. There's nothing about being enlightened or awakened that stems from being hate. Now, okay, you're going to feel anger, and that's cool. I support anger. I like fire energy, but I know how to run it. And sometimes I don't even practice it because it fucking feels good to blow up, right? So blow up, but don't hurt anybody, okay? We got to break that cycle. And it doesn't matter which side of the fence you are with victimization, victimizer. You got to not be, as a classmate of mine recently said, so far left that you're actually right, okay? And you don't want to be so far right, whether you're left or right, whatever. You don't want to be so far in the extreme that you are callous and apathetic, right? Because that's not helping anybody either. So the point is to get to the center point, and when we get to the center point, more and more and more, the more people that do, just the more we have a new earth being developed. And it's already here. It's really already here. It's just, we got to remember that we're not in a war anymore. It's sort of like the Valkyries coming down and just plucking our egos out of the battlefield. Just think of it that way. We don't have to die for this, not a physical death, but we do have to let go. We have to let go of these old, low energies. And if I could do it, trust me, if I could have done it, and I did, anybody can do it. Anybody. There's nobody who has a rougher story than I grew up with. Nobody at all. At all. And I can promise you that I wasn't looking for it. It just developed within me and just kept saying, go further, go further, go further, go further. And there's still, even here, there's still further and further, okay? But if I could come from what I came from into knowing what I know, into being where I am, you can do it too. And don't worry about what anybody else is doing or telling you that you shouldn't do or can't do when it comes to doing this work. It's about you. And when you activate, more people around you activate, and you stop seeing the negative in the world. And then all of a sudden you realize, oh my gosh, I became that change just by working on me. And so I'm going to leave it at that today. And I hope you have a wonderful day, week, a month until we talk again. Namaste.